This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Friday, May 28. In Squiz Kids today, school's out in Victoria. Ecuador's giant tortoise returns. Squids in space. And the launch of My Lockdown Life. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
School's out in Victoria for the next week as the state today begins the first of a 7-day circuit breaker lockdown following a spike in coronavirus cases there. Kids in Victoria will remain at home for so-called remote learning as the state battles to get on top of the outbreak. And while not going to school for the next 7 days might sound like a hoot to anyone not having to do it, like all of you Squiz Kids in the rest of the country, remember that this is the 4th time that Victoria has been in a lockdown, and one of them was really long and ultimately not all that fun for kids or their parents. Yesterday, Victoria's acting Premier James Merlino described the sudden lockdown as a circuit breaker, which is an expression used to describe an action that's taken to stop something from progressing, which, in this case, it's an action that's been taken to hopefully stop the spread of the coronavirus in its tracks. And so, it's masks on again for Victorians every time they step outside. It's only going out of your house for food shopping or exercise, and it's not having any visitors to your home. So, you know, as I said before, a whole lot less fun than it sounds. But to help out our Squiz Kids friends in Victoria and help the rest of us understand what they're going through, we're launching a new segment for the next 7 days called My Lockdown Life. Keep listening to find out details of how you can take part.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Ecuador in South America, where scientists have discovered a giant tortoise they thought was extinct 100 years ago. To say an animal is extinct means it no longer exists on Earth. So imagine the surprise of conservationists in the Galapagos Islands when they stumbled upon a species of giant tortoise they believed had died off over a century ago. The Galapagos Islands is home to a stunning array of wildlife, from flamingos to marine iguanas, sea lions to boobies. And stop your giggling, a booby is a kind of bird. There's a link to photos of the giant tortoise in today's episode notes.
Sport time.
There's been a little bit of COVID chaos in the AFL with the announcement of the Victorian lockdown, with 2 games being moved interstate and several teams being forced to stay away from home longer than planned. Tonight's clash between the Western Bulldogs and Melbourne at Marvel Stadium will be played with no spectators and the roof of the stadium open. And Saturday's game at the MCG between Collingwood and Geelong will also be played in front of an empty stadium. Meanwhile, Victorian-based teams like Essendon and Richmond and Hawthorn are working out whether to stay away or get out of Victoria early to make their interstate matches. Meanwhile, the Gold Coast and Hawthorn game that was meant to happen in Darwin this weekend has been moved to Sydney. Right, did you get all that? I know, clear as mud, right? Imagine being the person organising their travel plans.
Spaced out.
Squids in space. Have you ever heard anything more ridiculous? But that's what's about to happen with an upcoming SpaceX trip planning to take a load of glow-in-the-dark baby squid up to the International Space Station in June as part of a series of science experiments. 128 baby bobtail squid will be aboard the rocket that takes off on June 4. Hundreds of scientific experiments are carried out every single day on the space station. It's an orbiting laboratory after all. Astronauts oversee these experiments and report back their findings to researchers on Earth, and that research helps us get a better understanding of what life is like in zero gravity. How cool is that?
My lockdown life.
All right, Victoria, this one's especially for you. Because you've been sent into another lockdown, because we know there will be lots of hours between now and when the lockdown ends of you being stuck inside, and because we think it's really important that Squiz Kids outside of Victoria understand what it's like to be in lockdown, again, we're asking you, the kids of Victoria, to help us put together a new segment, which we'll run for the next week, called My Lockdown Life. It's a chance for you to tell the rest of the country what it's like in lockdown. The good and the bad, what you're doing to pass the time, how you're feeling, how many times your brother or sister gets on your nerves, tips and tricks to make the days go faster. This is your chance to have your voice heard. So, what are you waiting for? We've stuck 5 questions in today's episode notes for Squiz Kids in Victoria for you to record your answers and email them into us. Over the course of the next week, we'll be playing a selection of your responses on the podcast. If you can't find the episode notes, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au and we'll email them out to you. Together, we've got this, Victoria.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. How many days is the Victorian circuit breaker lockdown? That's right, it's 7. Question number 2. Which country in South America is home to the Galapagos Islands? Yeah, it's Ecuador. Well done if you got that. It was a bit of a toughie. Question number 3. What animal is being sent up into space for scientific research purposes? Yeah, it's a squid.
Shout-outs.
It's May 28, birthday of Aussie pop singer Kylie Minogue. It's also a Friday, and that means an extra long series of birthday shout-outs, for which I reckon we should crank up the old birthday reggae tune. Hit it. And it's a happy birthday to these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Nicola from Oran Park, Archer from Mount Warren Park, Eden from Dubbo, Eliana from Sunnybank Hills, Wesley from Bexley, Ian from Callum Vale, Annalise from St Leonard's, Charlie from Abbotsford, Henry from Riverview, Trisha from no location given, Zach from Como, Amelie, who's listening all the way over there in Singapore, and Ayla, who's listening in from Switzerland. Plus, an extra special birthday shout-out today to Lockie in Heidelberg in Melbourne, who was so looking forward to having friends for pizza and a movie for his birthday today, but is now in lockdown. Hang in there, Lockie. Not forgetting, of course, those Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday over the coming weekend. Evelyn from Mount Lawley, Safal from Invermay, Henry from Cronulla, Maggie from McKinnon, Candice from Surrey Hills, Subi from Shoal Bay, Joby and Dominic from Dubbo, Benjamin from the Sunshine Coast, Hamish from Burradoo, Levi from Victoria, Raphael from the Gold Coast, Riley from Rockingham, and Amelie from Camden. And a belated birthday shout out to Jason from Tauraggi, Chloe from Abbotsford, Joshua in Echuca, Dylan in Mossman Park, and Erin and Zoe from Albury, who want to wish their awesome mum Kathy a very happy 47th birthday for yesterday. And a special Friday edition of Classroom shout-outs to 3-4M at Gosford East Public School with their teacher Mrs McLean, who's celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and 6 White at Holy Family Primary in Canberra, who say their teacher, Miss Salcedo, is the best teacher ever. Plus, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Miss Salcedo. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you'll want to shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids. We'll be back again on Monday. In the meantime, I want you all to get out there and have a most excellent weekend. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.